And we are back here in our portable TVP World studio at the Warsaw Security Forum with another interesting guest, and this time we're going to focus on cybersecurity. And joining me now is the mentioned next guest, Artur Kuliński, the member of Europe, Middle East and Asia team at Google. Thank you so much for joining us here on TVP World.
Thank you for having me.
So we are looking at cybersecurity, and this has been a major topic, especially over the last few months, in relation to the war in Ukraine, in relation to Russian aggression. What would you say is the biggest challenge as of today when we're here at the Warsaw Security Forum when it comes to cybersecurity in Europe?
Europe is now the area with definitely increasing number of cyber threats. So I would say the challenge is to, of course, address all those cyber threats on both business, national and private level. Yes? So we need to work, cooperate in all these areas to provide, to share our expertise, to share our knowledge, but also to educate society how to be aware and how to be protected from these rising threats.
So when we're talking about specifically Google, what would you say are the steps that you're taking in order to provide, to aid not only the users who are using your services, but also, for example, let's say governments that might seek potential advice, and sometimes startup companies and other companies that are emerging in the cybersecurity space?
Talking about startups, as you know me, we have just finished the final of our program when we actually supported startups to build very innovative cybersecurity solutions, which we consider really important to support innovation also in the cybersecurity, also to improve application of artificial intelligence in the area of cybersecurity, which is very important to countermeasure what is happening on an offensive side, yes, on the threat actors. Let's be honest, they will also use artificial intelligence to scale their operation. Yes, so we need to support also businesses, governments to use artificial intelligence to defend. We are also cooperating with governments. We support businesses. Of course, also from the product perspective, we are provider of the most advanced threat intelligence. Yes, when we have a global vision of what's going on in cyberspace, we see who is trying to attack us, who is trying to attack businesses, governments. We gather this information and we share this information. We have specialized team who are actually monitoring few hundreds of cyber groups. Yes, and we gather this information, we know what are their tactics, procedures, and we can share this information to increase ability to defend.
So if you were to pinpoint some of the biggest dangers when it comes to cybersecurity, what would those be?
Of course, this is quite stable for the last few years. Yes, we see a lot of campaigns focused on our users, on citizens. There are usually phishing campaigns trying to steal credentials, trying to steal accesses to our computers. And of course, how they are used later, it depends. They may be used to initiate another campaigns and attack all the related targets. They may be used to involve the computers into botnets to provide, for example, DDoS attacks, to censorship, for example, independent journalists, institutions like, for example, in Ukraine, when we actually provided the defense from DDoS attacks. So yes, so I would say it's very important to be cautious what's going on in cybersecurity, to protect ourselves, to be aware of things like phishing, like social engineering, and to protect our own private resources. I'm quite calm in terms of looking at businesses and governments. They have a great specialist, they usually know what they do, and we see that there is a lot of ongoing investments into improving cybersecurity situations. So that's a good sign.
When we consider the ongoing war in Ukraine and, for example, hacking attacks and cybersecurity attacks from the side of Russia, are we only thinking large scale? Are we thinking governments, big companies, banks? Or do you think that these particular attacks could also be directed towards regular citizens?
Of course, there are multiple types of cyber activity, yes? And when we're thinking about sophisticated attacks targeting infrastructure and government organization, this is only one side. The other side is, of course, misinformation, disinformation, and of course we see a lot of these kind of activities actually targeted into citizens. And I think everyone who lives in this country, who reads the discussion forums, who observe the public's life, they can see that these operations are ongoing. So definitely yes.
As Google, as such a massive international powerhouse when it comes to cyberspace, do you sometimes, especially with the challenges of AI, the rising challenges of AI, do you sometimes as a company find yourself challenged when it comes to dealing with this technology that sometimes seems to be getting out of control?
Actually, I would say that we quite well control technology that we produce, and for many years, not recently, we apply artificial intelligence and related technologies to protect our users. And I would say at this point, I'm also quite calm that we are actually using this technology in a much better and a much sophisticated way than attackers. And if you are talking about challenges, of course, we are challenged all the time. But we try to keep up to this challenge, and so far, with all the not being too self-confident, I would say that to this point we are doing quite well.
One of our reporters here on the ground earlier today spoke to General Molenda, who told us more on the Polish cyber defense forces within the army. So how do you think this is a good idea to be merging the two together in order to fight, for example, cyber threats? Having some, for example, in the UK, only recently we heard from the Defense Ministry that they're looking for gamers in order to be able to protect their country from such threats.
I really appreciate what our cyber defense does. I think it's absolutely astonishing how it was dynamically developing. And what I can say, like I said a few minutes ago, when we see some threats, when we see threats that can actually be targeting other companies or governments, we share this information. And I absolutely think that in the field of cybersecurity and cyber defense, it's absolutely crucial to share this threat intelligence information as much as possible. Yes, so definitely any kind of cooperation between the organizations that have various perspectives and various sources of information about cyber threats is absolutely crucial.
Last but not least, if you were to give some advice from your professional perspective when it comes to cybersecurity to the leaders of the European governments as of now, what would those be?
Oh, I wouldn't dare to give advices to the leaders of European governments. But if you speculate, I think that we are doing quite a good job in terms of the public security, and as I told us, I believe the businesses, especially our banks, they do a really good job to protecting the users. What I would say, put more focus on educating the society, put more focus to improve awareness of cyber threats in our society, so we exactly know how to protect our private resources and to spot the threat when it appears in our private lives. That would be my advice.
The world of cybersecurity, absolutely wonderful and possibly dangerous at the same time. Thank you so much for joining us today here on TVP World during the Warsaw Security Forum. I really appreciate that.
Again, thank you for having me.
Wonderful. Artur Kuliński was our guest, the member of the Europe, Middle East, and Asia team at Google. My name is Klaudia Czerwińska. I was your host here on TVP World. Please stay tuned for more news and features.